Hello and welcome to Dead by Lead, a 28mm miniature skirmish game set in the American West in a fictional boomtown known as Bloodstone. Today we'll go through some of the basic rules and teach you the core mechanics to help you become familiarized with what makes Dead by Lead a unique tabletop experience. The game structure is centered on 12-sided dice. The D12 is referred to as the skill dice and will be used to accomplish most of our tasks in the game. It should be noted that a result of 12 is always considered a success in Dead by Lead, while a result of 1 should always be considered a failure. We have a D6. This 6-sided dice is called the hit dice and will be used to determine the wound locations. We also have a handful of additional D6s that will be used as counters to keep track of various mechanics. A standard tape measure to measure distances and ranges in inches. A standard deck of playing cards, also known as the aim deck, will be used for determining the degree of cover a model has and the difficulty of a shot when attacking an enemy. We have 2 opposing gangs and their corresponding roster sheets containing all of the characters' information. For each character, we have a 28mm model to represent them on the tabletop. Lastly, a pencil and pencil sharpener for denoting any information needed on the roster sheets. The first step to getting started with a match of Dead by Lead is to roll for gang deployment. With a result of 5 for the Lasso Lot and an 11 for our Bloodstone Law gang, the Bloodstone Law will deploy first, deploying all models within 3 inches of whichever table edge the controlling player selects. Sheriff Hugh and Deputy Grant elect to deploy next to each other behind this tree, and the Lasso Lot player now deploys all of their models on the opposite side, with all 4 models electing to deploy next to each other behind this small building. After deploying, players will roll off again to determine who has initiative and priority for the game round. A result of 6 for the Lasso Lot and a 1 for Bloodstone Law means the Lasso Lot player will get to act first this turn. During each turn, players will alternate back and forth by activating and taking actions with 2 of their models, and then passing to the other player until all the models on the table have had an opportunity to take action. Models in Dead by Lead utilize 2 actions during an activation from a small list of available actions from within the game. These actions include things like running and shooting guns. Starting with the character Thomas Edwards, the player decides to take 2 movement actions with his actions for the turn. Standard movement on foot is 6 inches per movement action. This allows this player to move this model 12 inches in a single turn. The player then activates a second model, Hank Dixon, and chooses to do a double move with him as well. After activating 2 models, we pass the turn over to the other player. The Bloodstone Lawman player moves the deputy behind the outhouse for cover with his first action, and then measures the distance between himself and the enemy model, checking for range. Despite being within range, the visibility is almost non-existent, and the players come to an agreement that there wouldn't be a viable shot. As such, the deputy will choose not to take a second action and instead stay put with his good positioning. Next, the sheriff character takes a double move, using both of his actions to do so, and positions himself behind the cover of the building. The Lawman player has activated all of their models, so now we switch back to the Lasso Lot player and give them a chance to activate the remainder of their models. Double movement actions with both of the remaining characters gets them both into more favorable positions, and now all the models have activated. Now with every model on the table having had an opportunity to activate, we start a new round and roll off once again to determine the initiative. The Lasso Lot player wins initiative again and takes priority. The character Thomas Edwards activates first again and takes 2 movements towards the adobe building, running and setting up within the building. Next, Gold-Tooth Bob runs and positions behind a wagon. With his second action, he elects to fire his pistol at the deputy. Shooting outside of the weapon's optimal range and having moved prior to shooting means Gold-Tooth Bob will take a -2 penalty on the shot. Analyzing the deputy's cover, the players determine and come to a consensus that the deputy has standard cover with roughly 50% of his body obstructed in visibility by the outhouse. To reflect this, we will draw 2 cards at random from the aim deck and take the higher value card to be our dice target for Gold-Tooth Bob's attack roll. Flipping a 6 and a jack, the jack is automatically taken and represents a dice target of 10. Adding a +1 to the dice target for the deputy's standard cover now gives us a total dice target of 11. We roll a d12 and add Gold-Toothed Bob's iron skill of 2, remembering that he suffered a -2 penalty on the shot for moving and firing outside of the optimal range. As such, Bob can successfully shoot the deputy with a result of an 11 or a 12. With a result of 2, Bob's shot fires well wide. The player then denotes the spent ammunition on the roster sheet with either tokens or by marking it with a pencil. Given that 2 characters have activated for the lasso lot, we now switch back to the Bloodstone Lawman player. The player starts by activating the deputy and immediately returns fire on Gold-Toothed Bob using his repeating rifle. He uses his first action to careful aim. This provides him with a +1 modifier to the shot, and then he uses his second action to blast back. Cards from the aim deck are always shuffled back into the deck at the end of the round. After seeing that Gold-Toothed Bob has standard cover, the Lawman player will also draw 2 cards and determine the difficulty of Deputy Grant's shot. A draw of an 8 and a queen means this shot will also have a dice target of 11. 10 from the queen plus the standard cover modifier of 1. With an iron skill of 4, Deputy Grant is an excellent shot. Because the deputy did not move before firing and chose to aim with his rifle well within range, he'll be taking the shot without penalty at a whopping total of +5. Grant essentially has a 50-50 chance of hitting Bob here. With a resulting roll of 10 + 5, the deputy easily guns his target. After successfully hitting an enemy, the next thing to do is to roll the hit dice to determine the wound location. A result of 2 means Deputy Grant's rifle has blasted Bob in the right leg. Gold-Toothed Bob then suffers the repeating rifle's weapon damage of 2 to his right leg hitbox. With Bob's total grit only being 3, he's already in a dangerous spot. Should the total damage on him exceed the character's grit value, he'll be taken out of combat. In addition, for each point of damage sustained to the leg, a character's movement speed is reduced by 1 inch. Bob will now be limping around on that injured leg at -2 inches of speed per action point spent on movement. The Lawman player now wants to do his best to finish Bob off while he has a chance. The player activates the sheriff and uses his first action to have him pop around the corner of the building. With his second action, Sheriff Hugh fires his heavy pistol at Bob. Drawing 2 cards, the high result this time is a measly 4. Adding the +1 for cover, the dice target for the shot is 5. Sheriff Hugh has an iron skill of 2, but has moved prior to shooting, so he will take the -1 penalty on his shot. This means Sheriff Hugh will need to roll a 4 or higher to match or exceed that dice target of 5. Rolling the dice, the Bloodstone Lawman player gets a 6, giving him a total result of 7 and successfully hitting Gold-Toothed Bob. With a roll of 5 on the hit dice, the round from the heavy pistol has blasted Bob directly in the chest. With no other options, Gold-Toothed Bob will have to expend his single point of luck to avoid being taken out of combat here. Rolling a d12 and adding a +1 for the single point of luck, Bob will need to match or exceed the sheriff's total roll of 7 to negate the damage. Rolling a 4 with a total result of 5, Bob is unable to avoid the shot from the sheriff's heavy pistol and is inflicted 2 damage to his chest hitbox. With his total wounds now having met and surpassed his grit value, Bob is gunned down. We've only begun to scratch the surface of combat and gameplay in Dead by Lead. With narrative campaign play and 6 scenarios, there is lots to explore in the deadly boomtown of Bloodstone. Dead by Lead is now available in Blaster Magazine Volume 5. Special thank you to our publisher Electi Studio and to Skull Forge Studios, who designed 6 beautiful 28mm miniatures specifically for Dead by Lead. Those models are now available, so please check them out. And lastly, thank you to Things from the Basement, who made the wonderful MDF terrain in our demo today. Cheers, and thank you for watching.